I have from a good and direct source, at the very least.
Breaking news. Is this breaking news?
Welcome back to the Spin Cycle Podcast, everybody. I'm Caley Fretz. Today on the show, Ineos is going double extra virgin dyno oil. Strade played out like we pretty much thought it would. Tadej Pogačar is going to Roubaix and also not. And Jonathan Milan is washed, which I didn't put on here. Johnny, what are you doing?
I'm just on Jonathan Milan washed watch. That's my job now.
Welcome to the show, Johnny Long.
Hello, welcome. Hello, everyone.
And Kit Nicholson.
Hello.
And special envoy to the Visma Lisa Bike VIP tent over the weekend. Chris
You went back
Marshall-Bell.
2 years there. That's quite impressive. Carry on.
Welcome, Chris. Welcome back.
Hello all. I still do actually call them Jumbo Visma, and it just rolls off the tongue. But I do have a Visma Lisa Bike scarf, which you will see me proudly wearing. Any escape members at Flanders and Roubaix, those who are coming over, of course.
So we've brought you in, Chris. As before, you're sort of our roving reporter, and you've got a new story for us, which we're kind of breaking on this podcast. We're also going to be writing a story today, so it'll be on the site around the same time. But for anybody sort of picking up this pod in the first couple hours in which it's been published, it's probably the first time you're seeing and hearing it. So, what is it? What did you show up to bring us today?
Well, today I am bringing you the news that TotalEnergies, the petroleum company from France, who currently sponsor a second division French pro team, formerly the team of Peter Sagan, they are in negotiations to become the co-title sponsor of Ineos Grenadiers from next year.
Where do we even start with this? Okay, so we've known for a while, and in particular, we've been talking a lot about how Jim Ratcliffe is penny pinching all over the place and trying to save a couple bucks. Is that the motivation for this? Is that Ineos basically had to find more cash somewhere? Because to be clear, TotalEnergies and Ineos are two separate companies. It's not like we've got sort of a Jerry Ryan, using all the different companies that he owns to sponsor Jayco kind of situation. Like, this is a totally separate oil and gas company working with a chemical company to co-sponsor the current Ineos Grenadiers.
Correct, but there is a caveat.
And
the caveat is Ineos. When I'm talking about Ineos and TotalEnergies here, I'm talking about the companies, not the bike teams. Ineos and TotalEnergies have been doing a lot more business in the last 2-3 years. And in particular, last year, Ineos and Total basically shared 50% assets of a major French energy plant, let's call it. I'm not clued up with my chemicals. But last April, Ineos took full control of the TotalEnergies plants. And I was told, I'm not being able to verify this information, but from a very good source, that that Ineos has been buying more stocks of TotalEnergies, the company as well. So the two companies are becoming more and more entwined. So yes, separate companies, but have a lot of business links. And it appears that this is Ratcliffe's way of saying to Total, sure, I'll continue to buy up more of your assets, and we'll continue to do some more work, but hey ho, my team needs a little bit extra, 10 million, 15 million a year. You want to divest your interest? Because I've also been told as well that TotalEnergies invested into the cycling team in 2019 when they bought Direct Energies, which was another French petrol company. And I've been told that their investment in the cycling team, it's not a willing investment, let's say. They're not super motivated by it, which you could argue, okay, well, then why did they recommit for another 3 years in 2022 when they could have left? So fair point. But, it's a big company like this. Surely they would rather have their name attached to a more successful team than a French second division team who doesn't really do too much.
So this deal isn't necessarily done yet, at least at the time of speaking and the time of publication, but from what you're hearing, negotiations or talks have taken place. Do we know what stage we're at with these talks. I mean, it's big enough news anyway that this is happening and that Ineos is serious about bringing on a co-sponsor. But do we have any idea of, how this will develop, what stage we're at?
Looks like we're quite a few months into this. This is not something that's just started in the last week. Checked it with a number of sources, and quite a number of people have heard this, and they've been hearing rumours of this for the last few weeks. As you say, it's not confirmed. Neither Total nor Ineos, the cycling teams this is, would deny it. They refuse to comment. But as we know, often when you don't deny something, you're kind of onto a right story. So yeah, I mean, it's not a done deal, and we've seen in sports before that things appear to be finishing, but might not happen, but it's going in the right direction anyway.
And this is a rumor that's been floating around for a little while. I mean, John, I think you mentioned the fact that a reporter at a competing title had mentioned it at some point, but it is sort of now largely confirmed that at least the talks are happening. So what does this really look like? Like, what's the outcome? Is this the Total Grenadiers now? Is this like what does it look like in probably next season, right? Like that's what we're talking about. We're talking about at the earliest that generally a new sponsor will come in like right before the Tour de France. That sometimes happens, but it seems more likely that we would get a 2026 Ineos Total Grenadiers team.
It would be 2026 from what I can gather, because also the budget for 2025 is pretty much set. So it means two things. In terms of the team name, this is my assumption. I think it would be Ineos Total rather than Total Ineos, because from what I can gather, Total only put in around 10 to 15 million euros into the TotalEnergies cycling team. So you would be surprised if they then put 50 million into Ineos. So then all of a sudden you've got a super team of 100 million euros, which is not going to happen. So I think it'll be Ineos Total. What it will almost certainly mean is that the French team, currently TotalEnergies, will be looking for a new sponsor from 2026. Now, they've obviously got time to sort that out. There's 9 months left. So that's a positive on one aspect. But I've not checked the rules yet. I probably should have done. But I'm pretty certain a company cannot be title sponsor of two different teams. Surely that's not allowed. So, yeah, the French team will have to look for a different sponsor.
I have a few observations to make that I would love to get your guys' opinion on. After years of seemingly doing everything they can to be as un-French as possible, especially for a team that, by all measures, is obsessed with the Tour de France, maybe as they rightly should be, it's for Ineos to then become maybe like part French, it seems like, and at least maybe they'll have more of an impetus to sign French riders is a welcome development. I like that. I like the fact that TotalEnergies cycling team currently in France, they have loads of cardboard cutouts of their riders at petrol stations across the nation. So I'm already thinking in my head which Ineos riders we're going to be able to pose for photos with the Tour de France. Hopefully it's Michał Kwiatkowski and Connor Swift. I would enjoy that a lot. And thirdly, I'm glad that Ineos have sorted out, sounds like they've sorted out some extra sponsorship, maybe shored things up a bit, made things less uncertain with all of Ratcliffe's other cost cutting going on, because it's a shame that TotalEnergies sounds like it might disappear or struggle to get funding, but I'm personally glad that a British team will be carrying on, because otherwise we don't think we have any, if many, teams left.
Yeah.
So it's good news, but unfortunately the French second team miss out.
Is this 15? Well, let's call it 15 million. Let's just assume it's probably it could be anywhere in that neighborhood, right? Is this on top of what Ratcliffe is currently putting into the team, or is this filling a budget gap as he wanted to save 15? And
I again don't know. I reading between the lines from what John Allard, who is Ineos Grenadiers CEO, said in January to some cycling press. He said that their current budget isn't enough to compete, which is a ludicrous statement. But anyway, so reading between the lines, any additional money will be on top of Ineos's current around 50 million euros. I believe that Ineos's budget in 2024 was 48 million. I don't know about 2025, but it will have gone up a little bit. You would have guessed. So if it is 15 million, let's just say a ballpark figure, that would put them above UAE, because their 2025 budget is 58 million.
Takes them back to being the richest team in cycling.
Basically, yes.
But will it work?
Yes.
We'll have to see. The one thing you can look at actually on TotalEnergies' squad list on Pro Cycling Stats is not to be rude, but compared to previous squads, a huge lack of star talent. But separately, they only have 13 riders currently signed up, at least known to the public for 2026. So then that would seem it makes it much easier to sort of downsize the team or the team to disappear sadly. But like they're bigger riders like Mathieu Bergadou, who are Steph Kras.
Is he the potato guy who Ian followed?
He's the expensive potato guy who's from like
Alaphilippe lookalike.
France. Yeah, the Alaphilippe doppelganger.
Yeah.
So that kind of, when you're putting the pieces together, that kind of makes a bit more sense maybe, that you don't have immediately like all these guys on super long contracts, and that maybe they had an inkling that this was on the cards and could happen. But huge news, Chris. Another fantastic story.
When I was asking other people about this after I was told from one source, pretty much everyone said to me that TotalEnergies have also been in discussions with Bahrain Victorious as well. But this was previously. This has happened in previous years. So it's very clear that TotalEnergies have been wanting to move away from the current French team. And it looks like in Ratcliffe they found a willing rival or buyer or colleague.
Yeah, maybe for help with negotiations. Also, Bahrain have Lenny Martinez, so maybe they really want Lenny Martinez to be wearing their jersey. I mean, this is the state of play right in pro cycling in 2025, is that it's just all of the oil boys figuring out how they're going to share space on cycling jerseys, right? You got Ineos, TotalEnergies, Bahrain, UAE. Are we at a majority yet? Will we be
oil and Arab states?
Oil, Arab states, and energy. I mean, in this economy, that's what makes money. Not to make it all down and out, but I would have preferred for the name Total Grenadiers.
Yeah,
I think to really get the Vavavoom back, you need to don't just go Grenadiers, go Total Grenadiers. Maximum.
Well, and that's what you put in a grenadier, right? So it kind of works.
Good.
Yeah. So Jean-René Bernadotte, who has run some version of TotalEnergies since like early 2000s, I want to say like 2003. Yeah, okay, there we go. Like all the way back to Brioche-la-Boulangère, right? Like that all the way back. It's been this sort of very French team for the entirety of that span. We're over 20 years now, as you said, 2003. It is a shame if he cannot find new sponsorship. That said, he's found new French companies to step in and support that team numerous times. I've just actually pulled up the list of teams. You start with Brioche-la-Boulangère. Congrats to me for remembering that one. But all the way through Bouygues Telecom, Team Europcar, Direct Energy, into TotalEnergies. You would hope you'd be able to find something new, just for like it's one of those teams that just has that. It is so French, and it has that French feel, and it's become this sort of it's a mainstay of the Tour de France. They're always invited to the Tour, regardless of whether they're at the World Tour level or not.
It's the Vauclair team.
It's the Vauclair team. Yeah. And Bernadotte is now 68 years old, so at some point he will probably stop doing the bike race hustle, you would think. But I do hope that he can pull it together like one more time and find some other giant French conglomerate to pay for everything going forward.
You say that, but he did say recently about the Tour de Rwanda that he has full faith in the strength of the Rwandan army when that there's all this stuff going on with the Congo, and that it's fine for the security of the race. They're talking more about invading another country than like things going on in Rwanda, so it's all right. So maybe it is time for him to be shuffled off to a room where he can say what he wants and no one listens.
Yeah, I'm not saying we should emulate his like stance on social
I'm just giving,
and global
I'm just
issues.
giving some context of like how sorry we should feel for Jean-René Bernadotte.
Well, I think he was just protecting his sponsor, TotalEnergies, because TotalEnergies are big investors in Rwanda.
You don't say.
Yeah, so you see, TotalEnergies have their fingers in every little pie around the world.
They were involved in a lot of Russian stuff, weren't they, as well? At the outbreak of the war, they weren't turning off the exports or anything. Anyway, we don't need to get too in the weeds.
Anyway,
I mean, which oil and gas company has a very clean record, Johnny? They've all got dirty hands. haven't
Filippo Berio, maybe? Are they squeaky clean? Put them on my salads.
Nice.
There is actually one extra point to add, though, to the French teams, is that we know that IKEA B&B Hotels is struggling as well. I keep on hearing rumours, but nothing really confirmed that they've got deadlines in April. The team keep on saying that that's not the case, and I know riders are still being paid, which is good, but that the outlook of that team is pretty bleak. So you've probably got Arkea folding, TotalEnergies maybe as well. So then you're only left with Cofidis,
Yeah.
Mark
Decathlon,
Mario, and
yeah.
Decathlon,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
which
sad.
isn't great.
Maybe the smaller ones could.
Well, don't forget Titema Rockets.
Oh yeah, they are French. That's true, Kit. Good point. Maybe all the smaller French teams can do like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and all stack up on top of each other or something.
Our powers combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mega French.
Well, Chris, thank you for bringing us this
Pleasure
here. Anything else we need to know? What are you poking at? What are the questions that are still out there about this?
Yeah, the money. The main one is how much money and like, is this, like we said, is this going to cover some of Ratcliffe's shortfall? Does he want to reduce how much he's investing in the team, or is this going to make the team the biggest, the most richest team in the sport again? And also when we are likely to see a deal, because, and this is a different conversation, as listeners will know, my juice is always one cycling. That's what gets me going. But as
you mean
I
half
was hearing,
cycling or two cycling?
Well,
We're
that's
real
a
big
different pod.
We're two cycling people over here.
I thought it was fun cycling now.
as we'll probably be on the site this week. It's half cycling, but yeah. So what I've been hearing a lot in the last few days is that the sport is paralysed. Everything is paralysed while David Lapartien waits to see if he will get the IOC elections. But allied to that, with one cycling having to happen before mid-June and the next World Tour cycle, calendar being announced in mid-June, everyone's been told, get everything ready by mid-June. Mid-June is the deadline for everything in cycling now. But everything's paralysed. No one's doing anything until March the 20th.
Right. When we find out whether the UCI president becomes an official IOC member, and basically has to, he either has to take on a 9th job, or 8th job. How many jobs does he have now?
He's already got 10.
Many.
He's already got 10.
Okay, 10? So either he has to go to 11, or he has to give up the UCI position, and then therefore we have a UCI presidential election, which is fun. I would love to do that. And we think that the chances of him getting in that IOC role are not super high, so we may be sort of just status quo later this year. But as you say, we're all just kind of like, the whole sport is stuck because
waiting for one
you're not going to do
get a job.
Daddy's busy.
Yeah, you just yeah,
precisely.
You're not gonna just do all these things and then have a new UCI president come in and have to renegotiate everything, right? So makes perfect sense. Well, Chris, the next thing on the run sheet here is also Ineos related. Do you want to hang out, or do you have things to do?
I can hang out. It's always fun to hang out.
So let's
stick around for a bit
pivot.
longer.
Let's pivot. Just slightly though. Johnny, Bradley Wiggins has been talking about Dave Brailsford. What's he saying?
Yes, he has. Bradley Wiggins. This was a write-up in the Telegraph over the weekend from a reporter that went along to like an evening with Bradley Wiggins theatre show in Maidstone, which I believe is in Kent, over the weekend. Oh no, last week, where Bradley Wiggins sort of, if you're going to go to one of those theatre shows with a former athlete to like get them to like dish on the past, the present, the future, the Bradley Wiggins one is probably going to get you the most bang for your buck, because he's always quite raw and honest and kind of doesn't really worry about what he says, right? He's there to tell the truth, put on a good show. So as well as talking about all of his, personal issues, such as going bankrupt and his financial problems and the abuse he suffered as a child, which he believes led to his drug addiction post racing career in the mid 2010s. He also said about Dave Brailsford. He said, "I'm not a fan of Dave Brailsford. I couldn't even sit here and say, I don't like him, but I respect what he has done. I really haven't got a lot of time for him, to be honest. So don't really know, what exactly he's pointing to for why he says that. I do remember when this was years ago now, when he came to the Tour de France at ITV to do like a celebrity guest spot on commentary. It was when a lot of that, Sky stuff was coming out in the wash, and he said, there's a lot of stuff that still hasn't come out that hopefully will come out in the future. So I would presume he's talking about that. The other interesting thing he said is that his son, Ben Wiggins, who's 19 years old and currently rides for Hagen's Berman Jayco, who presumably is looking to graduate to the World Tour in a few years, he said that he would not want Ben to go and race for the Ineos Grenadiers, which is obviously an organisation without Brailsford at the minute. Maybe his mind will change now that Total are on board and there's maybe a bit more money in the bank, but you can imagine not, and it's more of a culture and maybe living up to expectations thing where he doesn't want another Wiggins at that outfit and then always being compared, which obviously Ben Wiggins finds hard to escape. So yeah, just an interesting little tidbits. Glad to hear that Wiggins is doing better, because for a while there it was looking a bit interesting.
Bit rough.
Rough. So glad to hear that things are maybe looking up a bit.
I mean, I don't really know what to think about this, and we also don't want to. This sort of the topic is serious enough that it's not something that we can flippantly speculate on, which we do love to do generally, with less important topics. But this one in particular, we don't want to sit here and guess exactly what he's talking about. But the fact that he has twice now sort of mentioned, I mean, how do you even describe it? Some sort of disconnect between himself and Brailsford in the period in which Team Sky was utterly dominant, and also, we later found out doing some things that were floating around in gray areas, I think is an interesting development, and I do wonder whether we will ever get more definitive comment from Wiggins, right? There's something sitting in the back of his mind. We don't want to sit here and guess what that is, but there is something sitting there, kind of digging at him. If he's saying these kind of things in public, he's probably considering saying
he's
things in
poking
more
the bear,
detail.
right?
Yeah, he's poking a little bit.
But he's probably he would be risking being taken to court if he said anything inflammatory, even true or false.
Well, I was going to say, well, you said that, but if he says something defamatory, but which is true, and he can back it up, well, then he would win a court case, right? Because he'd be like, well, it's true, and he's the evidence.
But the laptop's
not wanting to get into
gone.
any, that too, but not wanting to get into, without, because this would be quite easy to get into this sort of flippant area. But if but think about Brailsford and all the resources he has, significantly more than Wiggins does right now. And he is poking a very large bear, is what I'm saying.
So of the four of us, I think I covered the two of them in the moment in like 2012, 13, 14. And I can't say that I would have seen that I would have guessed or seen that there was any sort of split between those two individuals at the time, like Wiggins and Brailsford. And obviously we only see a slice of what happens, and we only see things in public. But I saw plenty of big hugs between those two at the time. So I do. I wonder what's sitting on the back of Wiggins' mind, what he sort of had now a decade to process, and what he might want to say at some point in the future. I think that again, we don't want to speculate on it, but there's clearly something there, and if I had to guess, we will find out at some point here.
I would guess
at some point he will provide more detail.
Hopefully, it all comes out the week before the Grand Depart in the UK in 2027, because that'd be very Tour de France, wouldn't it? For
fantastic
news
Tour de
like that
France
to
stuff.
drop just before.
Is that the Tour de France that British people won't be able to watch on TV? That's happening.
I'll be able to watch it because it's going to be on in my town.
Yeah, it'll be outside your window, kid. It's going to be like the Tour de France 1927.
Yeah,
2027.
Go out to watch it and then watch the paper. Yeah, read the paper.
So does that also mean that all the riders have to carry a spare tire with them on their shoulder?
Yeah, It's gonna be
They
great.
should do that anyway.
They should.
I
They should
still
do
think
that.
they should just do an edition of the tour where they just use one of the early routes and you have to ride like
Oh,
450k
They should-
for each stage.
Yeah, they should do. You know, like how in the NFL they do the throwbacks week where they wear the kits from the 1950s. Basically, do it
Yeah.
like that. Just one day is like that day.
Can you imagine how much moaning there would be?
Yeah, it'd be great.
prima
Moaning
donnas
is like my
in-
fourth
in
a-
favorite thing in the
Will,
world.
it would be so funny.
Your fourth favorite thing.
Yeah.
What's your top three, Johnny?
I'll tell everyone in After Dark today.
He
Final
needs time
thing
to think about
on-
it, Chris.
I need time to think. Yeah.
Genuinely, that is a good idea. Like making them all ride in old school kit
Shall I add,
for a day.
shall I add this
you
to
could-
my 2 cycling thing?
Two
You
cycling
should add
idea,
it. Like you could just do it like once, like a relatively short stage.
Between the Tour and Vuelta or something.
Yeah, just like make them all, leather chamois, wool, everything,
Cheese
tubulars. Yep.
Instead
like,
of
Pork,
gels.
pork chops in the handlebar bag.
Yeah, there's they grab a musette from the side and it just has a bottle of wine in it, and
Yeah.
I think it'd be fantastic.
And I think they should also be able to jump onto trains as well, just to
Yes.
just to cut 100k.
Yeah, but then they'd have the
Wouldn't be
added challenge of actually having to get on a train with a bicycle in the modern era.
Nairo Quintana gets caught out for getting the SNCF because he's doing the bum ba-dum ba-dum, and everyone's like, "How do you know that?" And he's like, "Oh shit, I got the train from Montpellier to Nice." Final thing on Ineos is that at Manchester United, the big Ineos elephant in the Ineos room or whatever, there was thousands of fans protesting at their game against Arsenal yesterday. Not protesting Ratcliffe necessarily, but protesting him at not doing enough to turn things around, which mostly involves getting the Glazers out. Because a lot of the fans, or one fan has like crunched the numbers and then told the rest of the fans that because the Glazers saddled the club with £1 billion worth of debt, they're spending £37 million a year servicing that debt, which then is basically almost the entire Ineos Grenadiers budget. So
Wow.
just like it's important to have that context of the money being spoken about and how that impacts things, because that is a lot of cash and probably explains a lot of why, Ratcliffe's looking for this TotalEnergies co-sponsorship, and also, why, at least over the past few weeks, we were quite fearful for Ineos Grenadiers going forward, because that's not a small amount of money.
Meanwhile, the Glazers have taken tens of millions, hundreds of millions out of the club in dividends. Yes. So you can buy something and then it owns the debt, so you don't own the debt, and then you can also take money out of it for 15 years.
Yeah, that works apparently.
You can see why people support eating the rich. Like, you can see why.
You're going to get shouted at for saying that.
No, come on. Like, that's a
No,
ridiculous.
I agree wholeheartedly.
That's a ridiculous series of events, and like none of us can do that. Like, I can't go buy a house and then have the house own the debt, and
No.
then also have the house pay me.
Look, I'm very grateful for the way that our business is currently set up with the our members paying for everything, and I think that's the only thing that really gets me out of bed in the morning to come and do my job, is because otherwise
Antimone.
you'd kind of just lie there being like, well, yeah, Antimone, because otherwise you'd lie there thinking like, what's the point? Like, none of this makes any sense, and there are no rules really that apply to some people, so I might as well just sit here and have a beer and eat a bag of crisps.
So thank you to our members for getting Johnny out of bed in the morning and keeping him from just eating
Stocked with
crisps
beer and
all day.
crisps.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a bit about Strade Bianche. Welcome back, everybody. The men's Strade Bianche was won by...
Guess who?
Guess who?
Who was it? Who was it?
It was
Timberlands.
Tadej Pogačar. The Timberlands.
Oh, damn.
It was Tadej Pogačar, but in his all white skin suit, just for the white Ridge Tuscany. It's a glorious day, but his skin suit was rather natty by the finish.
Can I point out that the poll I ran on Discord selected second and third
The order.
in order.
Yeah.
You're not going to give me any credit for picking Pigcock on Friday's show, just the Discord.
No, Just the Discord.
I'll remember that.
We're trying to big ups to the members, not ups to you, Johnny.
Fair enough.
So
Tom Pigott big upped himself enough over the weekend. He doesn't need your help.
Yeah. There were a number of storylines that came out of this. One, first of all, I hope you caught the live How the Race Was Won that popped up about an hour after the men's race finished, where they talked through the crash. They talked through how the race was won. That's still on YouTube. You can go check it out. We have some other things we want to talk about that are far more important, such as his $300,000 watch, Pogacar's $300,000 watch. His Richard Mille survived the tumble into the weeds, which is, thank goodness.
Just as well,
right?
Yeah. I mean, because it probably wouldn't be covered in insurance as it was his fault, would it? His rider error.
Yeah, I mean, from the photos, it looks like it emerged unscathed. Maybe that's the benefit of a 300 grand watch. Are we a socialist podcast now? Is that what we are? What's going on?
Oh, come on! It's a $300,000 watch. It's ridiculous.
I think as a rule we can.
This is punching up.
We can be anti $300,000 watches.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
But we have seen before the kind of the almost faux looking watches that are a strap with a sticker on, haven't we?
It's true.
Yes.
That's true.
So I think this is this.
I don't know. I didn't look like it.
I don't think so.
But I did enjoy his comments. So not directly after the race, but in the press conference when he was starting to look a little bit stiff. He has come off unscathed, relatively anyway. But he had some great comments. He's apologised to Tom Pidcock and Connor Swift, with whom he was riding at the time, and said it was his own fault that he went too fast into the corner. But he also said
he missed the apex entirely.
Yeah.
So at that
and he
point,
commented on Pidcock's
toast.
handling. Yeah, he commented on Pidcock's handling. He's a mountain bike champion, Olympic champion, cyclocross world champion, and I was under pressure to show that I'm good at bike handling. I actually showed I'm pretty shit.
He felt
That's
under
what he
pressure.
said.
Is this the first time ever that he's felt under pressure?
I wonder if he felt under pressure or if he just really. He did also say that he was planning on attacking on that sector that was coming up. So he was probably doing his whole UAE thing where he's speeding up going into the sector so that everyone's cooked and then attack and nobody else can go anywhere. So I think that's probably. But he was very. He seemed quite kind of cheery and honest and just like, do you know what, sometimes I do fall over and I'm a bit of an idiot, just getting excited. But we've said before, this is a 26-year-old lad. Technically his frontal lobe isn't fully developed. He's just racing a damn bicycle,
and he's one of those riders that it's not that he never crashes. Like he had that, he hurt his wrist a couple years ago right before the Tour of Liège. But he is one of those, we always say at the Tour, he's one of those riders that seems to, touch wood, so far ride around with like a protective bubble through a combination of, good bike handling, good awareness of positioning, and like also some luck, right? You have to have a bit of luck to kind of do anything in sport or in the world.
To do anything,
To do anything. So when he comes off, it's like, it's a bit like, oh, this isn't supposed to happen. It's like a bit more of a shock to the system than usual, especially the rainbow jersey. When he like emerged out of that grass with his like sunglasses like askew, because after the fact he's all right or mostly all right, you can kind of be like, that's kind of a funny visual. Someone posted a meme being like,
it's been heavily memed,
but this one was like when he tries to come over to talk to you in the bar,
and
then it's like him and it's like some guy like lumbering over. The best part is Pogacar's partner Ziggler liked that, apparently, according to one of the pages, liked their meme. So at least they're taking it in the spirit intended. The one big question that continued after this was the Pogacar-Roubaix thing, because Giannetti had interesting comments, didn't he?
Yes, it was funny. It clearly, Mario Giannetti was the one who gave us comments at the UAE Tour as well and said it's not on his programme. But
we paid €7 million. I'd rather he didn't do Roubaix.
Yes, and he started stamping his feet again in Siena on Saturday night.
However, I cannot reveal my source.
Breaking news? Is this breaking news?
It's not really. It's an exclusive. It's not really breaking news because Chiro was talking about this. We talked about this in last week's podcast, right? But I have from a good and direct source, and that's as much as I'm going to say, that at the very least, Pogacar intends to race Roubaix and would like to.
Good for him.
So was asked the question directly, are you going to do Roubaix? And he said yes.
And this is
And
after the crash, after the race, after Strade.
this is, I believe, after Strade. Yeah.
Okay.
But honestly, Gianetti's stamping his feet after Strade. I don't think that it's not like Pogačar crashed on cobbles at Strade. Like he crashed on pavement. So like you could he is just as likely to have that particular crash at Tirreno or Paris-Nice as he is at Roubaix. So I'm not sure that that's actually sort of a bit of context there. But anyway, point being, he has expressed interest, desire to do it this year, and said that he is going to do it this year.
I reckon he will. I mean, he's going to be at Flanders, right? He's going to be in the area. But so are two other riders, just in case. Just to have a little bit of a reserve situation. If it's going to rain, Paris-Roubaix, not doing it. Never rains for Paris-Roubaix, apparently.
And really,
but
Gianetti can kind of stamp his feet all he wants. If Tadej Pogačar wants to do Roubaix, he's doing Roubaix, right? Like that's the reality. And it sounds like he wants to do Roubaix. So again, you can't fully confirm anything. There's a lot that will happen between now and the middle of April. But yeah, we can basically say world exclusive. Definitely not the same source as Giro has. That he's going to do it. He's going to do it this year, which is super fun.
That is fun. From the women's race, Demi Vollering obviously won the next round of the Revenge Tour against Anna van der Breggen.
And she was absolutely delighted. I don't think I've ever seen her look so happy to win a race.
The fist bump was good as she crested over that final little dip.
The Santa Caterina into Piazza del Campo. But Anna van der Breggen in second and Pauline Ferrand-Prévot in third. So it was like, what year is it?
We're kicking it 2019. Yeah. Great stuff.
Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. So she was a minute and 40 seconds behind the leading two. So kind of won that race for third. Interestingly, on the Friday before, she posted. You might have seen this. She posted on Instagram, being like, it was like addressed to her agent in like a jokey way, being like, to my agent, we forgot to put in the contract that I don't ever want to wear like a baseball cap.
Yeah.
And so now Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is contractually obliged to wear a baseball cap, like for team presentations, for podiums, which apparently she hates. And to be fair, I don't remember her wearing caps that often.
No. But because she commented that she doesn't suit hats, and it made me, looking at the picture of her in a cap, it made me think maybe I don't look shit in caps, because I think I look terrible in caps.
Oh, you think she looked bad in a cap?
I didn't think she looked bad in a cap at all.
No, I
think
didn't.
it looked like she was wearing a hat.
Yeah, but that's the proof, isn't it? Everyone thinks everyone's looking at them, but no one really is. She's just wearing a cap.
Is she in favor of like the cycling cap, the lufted cycling cap?
Nothing.
I think
she doesn't want anything.
I don't think she wants anything. I think the cap would fit very. I mean, she's clearly got quite a small head, so the cap definitely was on her head. But not like a kind of luft situation or a kind of jaunty hair situation. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess she just doesn't like the look of herself in caps. I don't know.
This is obviously huge news from the weekend, because then also Ferrand-Prévot tried to make a deal with Visma Lease Bike to say that if she got a podium at Strade Bianche, then she wouldn't have to wear the cap anymore. But I haven't seen so far that Visma responded or.
She was wearing a cap on the podium,
she was wearing a cap on the podium after. So I am now on Pauline Ferrand-Prévot cap watch. For a while,
as you should be.
And it's also important to say that I imagine that Wheel Talk will have a lot more serious breakdown as how the race was won did with the men's race of the women's race.
Yep.
But yeah, back to the hat. This is what I'm here for. This is all this even managed to distract me from the Demi Vollering Revenge Tour, sort of just snaking Van der Breggen at the end, huge celebration. Just it's great. This is what it's all about. Is these narratives of getting your overcoming your master and beating them and all that rivalry stuff.
I propose for Pauline Ferrand-Prévot a headband with all the sponsors on it.
Shall I write this down in my notes as well? We've got so many notes for this sport. Man.
Is this another two cycling thing?
Yeah. Well, this will get Pauline Ferrand-Prévot's signature.
Yeah.
Look, we're going to do individual things to get each person on side.
I think we should just give another word to Strade Bianche just to how bloody beautiful that race is. And I'm petitioning for us to send me particularly to the race next year, please.
It is good. I went The problem is you either have to see like the finish, the Siena bit, or the other bit. So you only get to see one bit.
I just want to be.
I would increasingly. I'd just go up to La Tolfe.
Well,
That's the spot.
That's
the spot.
It's Ben Healy pinging up there, almost getting knocked over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just Tuscany, those cypress trees, the photographs from the Grubers, and it's just the most beautiful part of the world.
I mentioned this before, but I stayed at a hotel at the top of that hill, La Torre a La Tolfe. You probably have to book it a year out at this point, so maybe book it for next year right now.
I've got my uncle in town, so
yeah. Well, I'm not saying for you, I'm saying for our audience out there.
Yeah,
because
point.
Clearly that's the spot, right? Like it's become, and I think that's only happened. So there were some shifts in course. In route in the last couple of years, not massive, but some shifts, and the end result is that La Tolfe climb. Wins. Well, that's one of them, but that La Tolfe climb has become the spot for Strade, right? And that's kind of fun because it focuses fan attention, which is really fun, and it focuses rider attention, which is really fun. And yeah, if I was going to go watch Strade, that's the hill that I would try to stand on the side.
It is where the action took place in the women's race.
Yeah, 100%.
We should do our members summit there, if not next year, 1 year.
We've talked about it.
That'd be a good one to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to that
sportive,
hotel. It was great.
The day before as well.
Well, let's move on from Strade, which is a sad thing because it is one of our favorite races of the entire year.
Only 364 days to go.
Only 364 days to go. We do have Paris-Nice and Tirreno this week. There's not a whole lot to talk about on that front yet, really. But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about how Jonathan Milan is washed, which is not true, and a report about the Saudis and the Giro. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Who put Jonathan Milan as washed? Because this, well, it runs firmly counter to my ongoing efforts to present Jonathan Milan as the greatest sprinter of 2025, which thus far is not proving to be particularly true.
Well, that's why.
Explain yourself.
That's why I put it in there, Caley, is because I stated this a few weeks ago that I've found my sole purpose for 2025 is to be a counteracting force in the universe that will, Jonathan Milan, nice guy, but I can't, you said he's the guy, so I have to be there to be like, no, he's not the guy. And I've got
is the comment based on the fact that his baby brother is a very fast man too?
Correct. So basically, Jonathan Milan at the age of 24, I mean, winning bike races, sure, and just finished 5th in the Tirreno time trial, sure, all good. But his younger 22-year-old brother, Matteo Milan, who rides for Lidl Trek Future Racing, which is their development program, he won the Croatian Porek Classic at the weekend. So,
which is it's a reasonably prestigious one of the those kind of development races.
It's a decent race.
Olaf Koy has won it.
Yeah.
Matthew Brennan, the young sprinter chap for Visma right now. It's a good race.
But basically, my point is that, move over Jonathan Milan. You're yesterday's news. Matteo Milan, he's the guy. He's got a little fringe, which I don't believe Jonathan Milan has. A little fringe, extra sponsorship there, maybe braid it up. I don't know. So yeah, just thought I'm just putting the fire close to Jonathan Milan's feet and your feet, Caley, just to remind you that there are all these guys coming for his dinner. I don't know why I've just taken such a stance on this, but I have, and now I'm here.
I don't know why I've taken such a stance in the opposite direction. So we can.
I think he's great.
Our takes, yeah.
I
was just looking up other Milans on the internet. There's a Milan Donny too on the Lotto development team.
Oh.
Yeah, 20 years old.
First name Milan or second name
just got second at a stage of the Tour de Rwanda.
Is that a first name?
Yeah, it's his first name.
Milan Fretin is very good.
Milan Fretin. Milan Vada.
Yeah, Ricky 3615. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
Milano Sanremo.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going really far down the rabbit hole.
Just naming some guys. Yep.
Yeah. I like that little Trek development team have got two kind of brothers waiting in the wings for their World Tour riders. You've got the Martin Pedersen as well. Although Martin Pedersen is actually 27, which is
Really?
yeah.
That's odd.
Is that a
He
Juraj
also-
Sagan's situation?
Maybe he also doesn't. I would say he doesn't look anything like Mads Pedersen.
He actually looks
Probably.
older than Mads Pedersen.
Yeah.
This is not very good podcasting right now.
No,
We're just
okay.
looking at
We're,
pictures of people.
we're gonna switch over to the story about the Saudis and the Giro.
Yeah, but that's much less
So-
fun, much more worrying.
Much more worrying. So RCS, the organizer of the Giro d'Italia, has apparently struck a deal with PIF, the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which again is a country where it is illegal to be gay, and you couldn't drive if you were a woman until just recently. So that country is investing in the Giro,
And they chop up journalists.
and they chop up journalists,
and kill
like
them.
literally chop them into
And
pieces.
and even though I think women can get driving license, can drive, apparently it's very hard for them to get driving licenses. Or anyway, yeah, they're going to be apparently splashed all over the Giro, presumably this year, because the old sponsor NL, who's like an energy company, maybe they'll join the Ineos Grenadiers TotalEnergies guys, but the Saudis are all in on the Giro. So that's going to be fun. An Albanian Grande Partenza sponsored by Saudi Arabia. This surely must be linked to half cycling, one cycling in some way. Not exactly sure how yet. Maybe we'll find out. You can kind of draw some links yourself, maybe, of how it might work out.
Well, so our
but not great.
our man Chris Marshall Bell, who was on earlier in the show, he does have a story in the works. We have been writing. He and I have been working on this one cycling story for about a week now, and every time we get it kind of close to publishing, something else happens, and we have to kind of redo it. And it's not that like the previous version was wrong; it's that something else has changed in the actual sort of what's happening behind the scenes. So that's where we are at the moment. Hopefully we'll have something this week. This PIF deal with the Giro is, I think tangentially related, right? I mean, the money's coming from the same place. PIF has also obviously cropped up in a lot of other sports as of late. They're the ones behind the breakaway golf thing, the live golf thing, and as well as they are the backer of, what is it, Newcastle?
Yeah,
the Premier
Newcastle
League?
football, boxing. They're doing a lot of boxing.
Yeah.
Formula One, I believe they're involved in there. Basically they've got $925 billion worth of assets, so they can kind of do what they want.
Yep.
That's
basically infinite money.
Yeah.
So,
not
they've
great.
scrounged under the couch cushions and found a little bit of cash for our friends at the Giro. It's just kind of gross, but I mean, simultaneously, money in the sport, good.
Yeah, but it's all
cost.
cycling is going to belong to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but like these things aren't. It's not free, right? Like there are expectations. There are expectations that come with millions of dollars, and we don't fully know what those expectations are yet. We don't fully know what the intended return is, whether it's financial return or sports watching return or what. But it's not free.
Will anyone who writes critically about them be allowed to be accredited for their events? That will be something we have to see. They don't really take too kindly to criticism. They are sort of known to hound reporters or people who, speak out against what's going on over there. So bad vibes all round. Obviously, the switch from Eurosport to TNT Sports has happened in the UK, and you know how beforehand in all the sort of PR coming out of how TNT Sports are like, we're going to grow cycling. It's going to be bigger and better than ever before. We're going to reach new people.
Yes.
Would you like me to tell you the way that what I think I found is one of the ways in which they're trying to do that?
What's
yes.
that then?
Are they on YouTube?
Yeah, that probably. I'm not watching that. If they are, they are.
It's
whatever.
true. You're over 30. You can't be doing that. You
I
can't be
can't.
seen
I don't
on
know how
YouTube.
it works. Yeah. Thanks for that. No, I found that they run sort of incessant adverts in the middle of like football games, like Champions League football games in the week, being like, and if you're enjoying this, game between Aston Villa and Club Brugge, don't worry, the Tour de France is coming in July, so you can get even more from your subscription there, which is odd. very
So
odd.
those are house ads on TNT as well. So they're running their ads for themselves.
No, not even an ad. Like
Oh,
they
the
do the ads normally.
commentary.
The commentator, you know, when commentators
Wow.
often like promote other things going on. Like, you know, the CBS commentator in the NFL will say like Family Guy follows at 9 p.m. or whatever. They're doing that, but for like the tour in March. The other thing they're doing,
I kind of like that actually. Like I appreciate
I kind of
that.
like it, but I'm
Yeah.
also like, this can't be the plan. This can't be the whole plan.
How's
To
that? I
think
mean, yeah,
more broadly than that. We also, I saw my brother at the weekend, and he, because my dad was is working on Paris and was setting up, and he was like, "Oh, has Paris already started?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's the starts on Sunday." He's like, "Oh, but I saw cycling on TV today." I was like, "How did you see that?" He's like, "Well, I was watching the football, and then they cut to a picture-in-picture box of Strade Bianche and Tom Pidcock, like mid football game, apparently, like within the screen." So that maybe that's how they're going to juice the numbers. You may like this, but I just think it's weird. I think it's
I
weird.
like it. I mean,
Yeah?
you know, like, yeah, it's okay. It's still not as good as everybody can watch the Tour de France for free on television, right? Like that is the ideal, and that's what we're losing, or what you're losing. I have never had that, like ever. Literally, it's never been available for free in America ever. So
we only had the Tour de France for free.
if we don't have that, if we can't have free, then stick it in front of, like, they're not doing that in NFL games. I'll tell you that right now. Like they're not like, oh, take a brief pause from your Broncos game to check out. Well,
Tour
I guess.
Bianche.
Well, like that time of year would be like
It would have to be that, yeah.
cyclocross or something.
Milano Torino.
Yeah.
No, not Torino.
Well,
I don't know.
beginning of the NFL season, you could do the Vuelta.
True.
Yeah, but like in
Go
America,
watch
they're
Sepp
not,
Kuss.
they're not doing that. Yeah, go watch Sepp. The Eagle of Durango is flying.
Fair enough, but it just makes me worried that they wouldn't be doing that unless they really had to push their subscriptions and make value for money for the customer, because they are so loaded with debt and they have to drum up those subscriptions and all that jazz.
So this, I mean, my theory around this is just that, as you have accurately pointed out before, Johnny, the Tour de France is in this perfect position where there's no other sports happening, right? So they don't have Premier League. It's in its break. And this year they'll have Club World Cup or something. But whatever else,
And that's on
others,
DAZN, yeah.
whatever other soccer, football is happening, etc. There is a gap in that summer, and I would imagine, like, I watch soccer on Peacock here. And Peacock is also where cycling is. And when there's no cycling and there's no soccer, I just cancel Peacock, because like, why would I don't watch it otherwise? And I would imagine that they're viewing the Tour de France as a means of hanging on to a larger portion of that Premier League audience across the gap from the end of the Premier League season to the start of the next one. It might work. Yeah.
Why not? I've got nothing else to do.
Did you see the poll put out by our friends at Cycling Weekly? I don't think they polled thousands and thousands and thousands, but I think they got 1,000 respondees talking about the change. So in the UK, and the data brought back that only 2.5% of the respondents were sticking around with TNT after having had a discovery.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which is significantly below the break-even point, which was still pretty low, though. It was still only like 20% that they needed to keep hold of. 2% of people who responded to the Cycling Weekly, and so there are all sorts of parameters that you have to include here. That the types of people who would respond, but the types of people who would respond to a poll would probably be more inclined to hang on to something. So it is There was also something like 7 or 8% who were on the fence still, but it's still, I think the break-even point, because of the extortionate increase, was around 20% of the existing members. So I don't know.
The comments on the rebranded TNT Cycling social media has just been like,
Oh, it's
hate
brutal,
this.
isn't it?
It's quite brutal. It's quite brutal. The other thing as well is that obviously the ITV Tour de France coverage do the Dauphiné and Paris as well. So Gary Imlach did his first InVision on camera, being like, obviously this is the end of an era where ITV are not doing cycling anymore. So you've got 57 more race days. No, 37 more race days, I think, and 57 shows of those guys. So that's sad. That's what will really make me feel old. Not YouTube. It'll be no more
Yeah.
ITV cycling.
And no more of that jingle.
I know.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
I know.
It's going. It's going to be
We should
over.
try and. I
all
mean,
over.
I would say we should try and buy it and use it for our podcast, but I think that would not. That would be. That's not the right thing to do.
If they're not using it at all anymore, can we just use it for our podcast? And then if and then just
Yeah, we could. It would feel wrong.
Say
though.
sorry if they yell at us.
It'd feel wrong. Maybe in like 5 years we can bring it back as a throwback. But anyway,
We're gonna head into After Dark, where we've got some important things to talk about. I did a bike race.
okay.
I've got to hear Johnny's favorite things.
Oh yeah, right.
Yep,
I need to
Johnny's
figure
favorite
that
things,
out. I need
and
to remember that.
there's one very specific thing that Tadej Pogačar and I have in common from the weekend. So yeah, we will.
Do you both own a Richard DeMille watch?
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I knew that.
Yeah, I went for it. I was like, who needs a house? I'd rather just buy this watch. So we're gonna head into After Dark. If you're a member, stick around, and you'll get all sort of the good stuff behind the wall. If you're not a member, what are you doing? Sign up. Head over to escapecollective.com/join. Everything we do here is supported by you. Please sign up. All right, let's head into After Dark. All you free folks, we'll see you Friday.